Mary Proctor by Natia Worthy-Stewart. About Mary Proctor. Mary Proctor was born in 1960 in Jefferson County, Florida, outside Monticello in a place called Lloyd, about 20 miles from Tallahassee. Her mother was Pauline Cooksey, and she had her at the age of 11. She got pregnant and was afraid and tried to hide it from her grandmother, but her grandmother knew and followed her mother around. Her grandmother told her she found her outside in a road in a ditch. She picked her up, took her in, nourished her, and kept her as her child. She was raised by her grandparents, a mixed-race couple. Her grandmother was black and her grandfather was white. He was like a farmer as he grew stuff in a garden and sold little fruits sometimes. She never saw him do too much. He was hated by his own people, but he was going to stick by his black woman. He stayed with her and went through the test no matter what. Mary never really knew her father. It was her understanding that he was an artist and was painting pictures in a church, and her mom was walking by. He was from Thomasville, Georgia. She went to meet him a couple years ago. He was supposed to wait for her, but he left. He didn't want anything to do with her because his family didn't know about her. When she found his family and told them, they told her, "You can't be. My daddy wouldn't have done this." And that was tough for her. From when she was a little girl, she wanted to preach. Mary was always preaching to everybody surrounding her. When she was born, they removed a caul. That made her a special child, and her grandmother always said she would be called to do something. She was said to be the caul baby. They relied on what she said, knowing she had a special gift about her: insight. They had dog races in Monticello. She always had people coming in, wanting for her to write a dog's number down. She went to school in 9th grade. She ended up getting pregnant by a man who was no good. She messed up. She wouldn't listen to her grandma. And her own mother kept on having babies, brought one in every year. Her grandmother didn't know what to do with all the children. She was getting too old. She got involved in taking care of 4 or 5 other children. Then her grandfather lost his land and got really sick and depressed. When he died, her grandmother started getting really bad into alcohol. She was a good woman and taught them values, but she had a rough time. Mary then found a good man, moved into Tallahassee when she was about 17 and married him, Tyrone Proctor. He became a fireman a year after he got married, and he's a captain for the fire department now. Mary was a nurse, stayed in the nursing field for 10 years. Then she opened a tender loving care daycare center. She did that for 5 years. She wanted to find something easier to do and started getting along the side of the road, picking up stuff and taking it to the flea market. She decided to open her own place and called it Noah's Ark's Flea Market. She ran around town picking up everybody's stuff that they threw away and just piled it up there. People would come in, buy something for $1, $2, $3, and it kept her going. She started collecting glass and dishes and jewelry, buttons, beads, furniture, just things that people would buy. She had made a whole block of stuff back there. She liked that, and she still likes doing that. She was running the flea market up until 1994. It was then her grandmother, aunt, and uncle all died in a house fire. All of them burnt to death. She had a vision right before that happened. Never has she not seen something before it happens. She was in a dream and saw smoke. She said to her husband she saw light going all the way up to heaven, and there was something going on. Her husband said, "Mary, go back to sleep." And it was about the same hour they were burning to death. That's when the phone rang, and they told her to come, and she was gone. When she got in the car and ran down there, the police and ambulance were already there. They were taking shovels and throwing out legs and heads and bodies, and she was screaming and hollering and looking at all of it. She shouldn't have been looking. Mary became really depressed because she couldn't stop thinking about what she'd seen. She was thinking about suicide, but remembered what her grandmother used to say. If you want an answer, there is such peace surrounding a tree. She used to look for her. She would always be under a tree. She said she believed Jesus dwelt there. So she sat under that old oak tree to meditate and read the Bible and pray for an answer. Mary went on a fast for 30 days, and on that 30th day, a beautiful light just shone. And she looked up, saw it shining in heaven, and she thought instead of taking her life, God was fixing to come back for her. That beautiful light just came over her spirit and said to her, "Get a door and paint." She already had a pile of doors there, and she had paint, and she went and did it. Then the Gospel of John, Jesus says, "I am the door. If anyone enters me, he will be saved." And she was writing on them doors, and she was releasing herself. She painted things she could remember that her grandmother said to her. She kept painting and painting until she filled the yard up, and her spirit was relieved of all her pain. The hurting was being taken away, and that painting brought her through. She started painting in 1995, and by 96, she had so many paintings, she said, "Lord, why am I out here doing all this?" And in her spirit, the Lord spoke, and he said, "You are on a mission to get a great message out into the houses and hearts." That's why the missionary came to her, because of her mission. She's going to get a message out to broken women, a message to help and glorify them. She's going to get a message out so men can search their hearts, learn to respect women, learn to treat women the right way. Her husband gave her a quote: "If God ever made something better than a woman, he kept it for himself." Her mission is just to paint it and get it out there. She came straight out with her art. Her art talks straight up. Her messages are truth. She's finding out people don't always like the truth. People that go to church every Sunday, they want to hear the truth. No, they just want to hear what fits their ears. That got her a little tight. People kind of attacked her because she spoke out and she spoke how it is. The truth, they say, will set us free. She had to paint the way she feels, and if she changed, and people are going to know God didn't tell her that. She can paint all the birds and cats she wanted to, but that wasn't for her. Some people prefer you to come out with something like a voodoo doll. One woman came and wanted a red window. She tried to do it 5 times and finally said, "Forget this. They're going to take what she gets, or they don't need it." She refused to let people change her. And she started painting because of the love and healing. If things don't go the way she thinks they should go, she'll find another avenue. How Mary Proctor's art relates to contemplative practice. Mary Proctor relates to contemplative practice because she makes her artwork in a different and new way of looking at not only African American art, but also abstract art. My response to Mary Proctor's art. Mary Proctor's art is very unique and inspirational. At the time of her art, a lot was going on, and she just needed an outlet to get through everything she was going through in a healthy and spiritual way. She continued to keep this practice as a way of coping and speaking up for her people. I think Mary Proctor is a beautiful artist who made art more aesthetically pleasing, especially using Black women as her art. There's nothing more beautiful to me than a Black woman, so seeing them in art in type or shape or form is automatically my favorite art. The writing on the art automatically makes everything 10 times better. Citations and the end.